Live here.
Okay.
What's up, everybody? We're going to talk data engineering today. Got Chris Tabb,
Hey.
got Matt Housley, got me, Joe Reis. We're at the Revere Hotel in Boston. So, yeah, let's talk data engineering. What's been on your mind?
Well, all the hassle of getting into America was the first thing on my mind, but once I got that out of the way.
Quiet. You're going to get in trouble.
Yeah. My ESTA is up to date. I'm legally allowed to be here. It's Europe I'm not allowed at the moment, so I did not too many days there already, but so that'll reset soon. I'm allowed back there soon. I think high-performing teams is something that we've touched on before, but I've got a new chain of thought of how they could be linked to other activities that are part of your data strategy. So that's one thing that has been a hot topic recently for me. I think the high-performing teams, there's so many aspects to it. So,
what is a high-performing team?
One that gets shit done. I mean, that's would be one definition.
That's a good summary. Yeah. Turns out that's actually a very hard problem to solve, right?
Yeah. I mean, touching on what I think is it makes a high-performing team. It's a team that has the autonomy to deliver it within the cell or within their own team. I think it's the keenness and passion about what they're doing, and I think it's the skill set that they have as well, because you're not going to get a high performing team if you've only got one tool in your toolbox. So to have people that, we've talked many times about this, having that Swiss Army knife approach, or that pie shaped, where you've got multiple pie shaped, a breadth of knowledge and a depth of knowledge in more than one area, and depending on your budget, or depending on your the complexity of your architecture as well, that would need the sort of skill set. So a high performing team could mean a different thing in a different environment, and you can have a high performing team in a very simple environment, but you take that team into a complicated environment, they won't be high performant again. So yeah, so I think there's no cookie cutter of what, okay, this is a high performant team, but I think there's, and this is where we can help you shape what you think you need for that team at that time. Something that managed, I think we're talking about that as well last night, is not every company has the ability to go and hire the best DevOps, data ops, your engineer, your data governance team, your data analyst, the governance analysts that need to go with that to support that function. So you might want to have someone that manages that for you, a good service integrator company that knows what your company needs, and what they can build a little wrap around, and actually have something for you to then wait until you can get a team that's high performance enough to take over that, and then then they can step away, and companies can just be more advisory to them and help them on the journey. I think is a key thing. And yeah.
This comes back to this notion of change management, right? And this is true of both companies that are growing. So I'm starting small, I'm trying to get bigger. I'm a startup, I'm a small corporation, and I want to become a much larger, richer corporation, or just teams that don't have a lot of data assets internally. And I mean, that's a key question. Like, how do you balance that? If I'm just starting, like having proper data management, proper data warehousing, what do I focus on first versus what do I outsource? What do I put into maybe external products and SaaS platforms? And what do I try to do in the future? Where do I say, okay, this is something I'm outsourcing now, but I'm going to try to bring it in-house in 5 years, say.
Yeah, I think choosing a non-sticky approach, or someone that companies that become a partner with you and take you on that journey, and they know that if you're more effective and you have a longer-term relationship with your customers, or your clients, your partners, if you go with them and grow with them, and know when it's right time is okay. You take the stabilizers off now. For the bike, you can do this on your own now. Just call me back every now and then if you want to do some tricks or something in the park, like
and not break your arm.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, how do you handle that as a consulting company? I guess that's a very interesting idea, right? Frankly, I think a lot of services companies try to get into a company and just stay there forever.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's great.
Let's be clear.
But I think you'll have probably a longer relationship if that relationship changes over time. So I think any company, if you go in there and you supply them one person and just walk away and leave them on your own, you're never going to add any additional value to that company. Whereas if you see them say, oh, look, you need a bit of help here. Oh, look, I can help you out with that. And not just going and putting people in to go and get the numbers up, really knowing you can help them on that piece. And then, you can be there when they need them. You can get them. I think that acceleration of getting you to on that first piece of that maturity exercise. So you invest in earlier, you reduce your overall risk and cost longer term. So you put the effort in up front, and you go and hire some great engineers. I'm sure they can go do it themselves. They will, but they'll probably won't be doing it with that vision of what you may have as a company, as a roadmap. And I think back to that high quality teams stay in companies where they know where they're going. If there's uncertainty of what the next level is, or I may not get investment to do that, or we're sticking with this technology, I'm not going to learn anything else, or spreading that word by that community of hey guys, look, we're at this level of maturity now, but this is where we want to get to. And then when we get to it, we're going to start all over again and see what else we can optimize, because a phrase I've coined recently is that maturity journey is never over. It is a journey that never ends. And once you think you've got it level 5 optimized on every single part of your platform on its maturity, and like the word change management is it's like a swear word.
It's very corporate.
Yeah, it's like I'm going to change. We're agile. We're not going to go change management. But it's true. It exists. I think we were talking at lunch over pizza about different methodologies of going in and I'm going to do the Spotify approach of that. Okay, great. Does that work in a bank? No, because they've got regulatory stuff they have to deal with. So you can't have. There's no one size fits all, and you cannot escape change management in nearly any corporation now if you've got data with that has classifications or privacy information. So it's gone. That free flexibility of doing what you want and going full agile and not having to have the G word governance involved or security involved. It's unavoidable now.
Let me ask you this though. I mean, maturity's a swear word. Sometimes it's a progression though, right? Yeah. So where do we typically see companies sort of get plateau in their maturity, data maturity specifically?
So I think where I've seen it is where they start without any plan to increase their maturity too quick. They expand too quick. They've got too much technical debt out there. They've got not enough clarity over who owns what or the best way of doing things. And you've got competing teams that maybe, my way's best and better than your way. They're probably all good, but maybe a combination of both of them would actually be the best one. But you're never going to get that unless you have that community-led, not CEO-led, not CDO-led, not CTO, community-led maturity, data strategy, roadmap, which...
Who does that?
So...
Well, I should say just who, but
who does, or
is it... I guess who would initiate that, and then who would, responsible for bringing it on?
I always say that, so it needs to be sponsored by the CEO at the top. Yeah. Right? So you've got to have that buy-in, and that strategy needs to be underpinned by what the corporate strategy is, what they want to achieve, new markets they want to break into, cost savings they want to achieve, anything that comes from that. Right. We need to see how we can satisfy those immediate objectives that the CEO's got on his vision, but at the same time, always being that one step ahead, always thinking, okay, right, well, I know I need to put some building blocks and foundations in place.
We all have to have our masks on.
Okay, sorry, we're getting our masks on.
This is a problem.
Yeah. Can you go to my bag real quick? Sorry, we have to for
okay,
a masked podcast here. 1 second. The joys of recording live these days.
This is the first.
There's one here for you.
Perfect. Thanks.
Well, if anyone doesn't understand me normally, then you hopefully you won't have a chance now. So anyway, where were we before we had our passed on?
So
Let's see. So you're talking about road mapping. Who designs the roadmap?
Yeah.
CEO sponsorship. Yeah.
So it's the CEO needs to sponsor that roadmap, and then after that you need to actually get that community to to get behind that, and each of them are going to be playing one part or piece of that puzzle of achieving it. And if you know that you want to achieve a new technology, you want to introduce a new framework, you want to introduce some new data quality capabilities, to do that, you're going to need to have initiatives as vehicles to help you on that particular journey, and you're going to have to take compromise on that way. You're going to have to go tactical sometimes, and some architecture will say, well, that's not the best thing, and some of the developers will say, well, that's a stupid thing to do, and yeah, it probably is a stupid thing to do, but to meet the objectives and the time frame, you may have to take those, but go back and make sure you address them. So, to the question of who initially is owned by the CEO or championed by the CEO, got the CEO support, but then after that, it should be business-led, technology-supported. If it's the other way around, technology-led, business-supported, you normally you get the best tech in without having the business outcomes.
I mean, how many times have we seen Hadoop stacks deployed? This was a few years back when this was the hot thing, but not really get used, right? Like, okay, we accumulate some data, but no one is actually using this stack for anything interesting because the business just isn't invested in it, and they're not meeting any business objectives. It's just collecting data, basically, technology. Yep.
Yeah, I think from my view of that Hadoop era bubble period, it took us where we are now with getting that data better understood.
Yep.
But it was too far away from the business because it was very, very technology focused. It was very, the GUIs, a lot of maybe the nice interfaces that you can get nowadays, or that ease of deployment and things like that, and the business not understanding technically how it works, and it was a technically complex architecture.
Yeah.
And you try adding, I think we mentioned this again last night, you try adding data security, column level application security onto your Hadoop cluster. Well, you're in a big challenge at that point.
Oh yeah. I was in a situation where we had Hadoop and we had a variety of other tools, and you couldn't actually almost no one could run queries because they couldn't secure the data. You had to have Fort Knox level access to actually access anything in the Hadoop cluster.
The most secure data lake in the world.
That's right, exactly.
We've frozen it. You can't even get in it.
Write once, read never. Therefore, it's completely secure.
Yeah.
Just keep putting stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's what I like to say. That data becomes a liability at that point, and that's why people don't let it out. So, we said the G word, governance word earlier as well, is that, governance needs to make a risk.
We're doing a lot of swear words today, too, by the way. Agile, maturity, governance.
You wait till later when we've had the beers, then the real swear words go.
We have to do a podcast on that, too.
So. Yeah. We woke up all the Back Bay while putting the world to right, walking down the posh streets. But sorry if we woke anyone up in Back Bay. It was just data debating, as you do.
He's not kidding either.
No,
this is what happens when you get three nerds together.
And the thing is, I was the only one drunk last night. Well, not drunk. I had 2 beers.
Lightweight. Jesus.
I had 4 while waiting for these guys to arrive. But they did arrive on time. So.
It's good to see you, man. It's funny because we met on this chat actually. We met you on Greg's. Greg Kakio. Shout out to Greg Kakio, by the way. What's up, homie?
And Greg, I revealed the conversation we had when I said, "Who the hell's this Joe guy? What's he on about? Why is he not answering the question?" So I told him last night, and we've admitted to it. We're still friends. But yeah, it's a true story. Yeah, I did gate crash, and now we've become like we're doing better than Boris and Trump did back then of trying to build UK-US relationships. I don't know how Biden's doing with Boris at the moment, but not as good as us for sure. We're definitely bringing the two countries together and making this data a global.
Making it great again.
Making data great again. I haven't got the hacks. It was made in China. I'm not buying things in China.
Jesus. Cool. It's gonna be that kind of party. So, but it is really cool. I mean, what brought you over to the?
You, Joe. I mean, that was it.
You just wanted to come over and hang out. Okay, great.
We've got, in fact, Sharda, if you're listening. So it was the main reason to come over and see her. So she's working with us on a project, and she's missed out on all of the company team nights out. So I've come here to just make sure that she got her team night out. Me and a lot of the old team we used to work with when I used to work at a company called Leisure Pass Group called Go City. So any of those people out there? Hello. And I like Boston. It's a cool city. So, yeah. So first stop on my USA nomadic tour. I think New York's next stop. We're debating which route. I'm being told I have to go to Salt Lake City, but
We'll see.
I've got other
happens,
offers.
but-
I've got other offers. I mean, I'm going to wait to be convinced which is the best one. I'm sure Joe will be working on that over the
We've
week.
got a few nights to convince.
Yeah, you got a few nights. But yeah, so and again, chatting to getting the opportunity to chat to you guys face to face has been sort of face to face.
Mask to mask, whichever.
Mask
Yeah,
to mask.
it's fine.
Yeah, it's a good achievement.
I mean, what are you seeing of the differences? Are there any differences that you're seeing between how people are doing data in UK and the EU versus in the States?
So I think we touched on one the other day, which is a bit of a difference that we see quite a lot of data modeling going on over in Europe, which I think you said you don't get to see it quite as much over here. I think the other thing is we're talking about
It's sort of like driving on the left-hand side of the road. I think data vault is.
So I mean, we've got to think of which countries still drive on the correct side. And there's Australia, there's
too many
Britain,
left, yeah.
Thailand,
Japan. Well, they obviously make Japan, where most of the cars are actually made in the world. So I think that technically may tip it into that. Maybe that's the right side. But anyway,
actually,
we're not here to debate over who's the correct side of the road.
where all the data companies based from?
Yeah.
Actually, Israel. So it's true.
Where the web was developed or invented.
Yeah.
Which side?
Actually, got a question here from Roman. Let me just put this up here real quick. How is the data people market in the U.S.? It's really hard to find good seniors in the EU nowadays. I think it's hard to find good seniors in the U.S. as well.
Yeah.
I think this is a global problem right now. Hiring's hard. There's a shortage of talent. This was going on before COVID. I think COVID really accelerated it for a variety of reasons, which I'm not even going to get into here. But there's definitely a shortage of senior talent. One big factor in the U.S., at least I'd like to get your take on this, Chris, for the UK and EU. But in the U.S., the seniors are just getting paid a lot of money right now.
Well, and the pay scale is completely different, at least in the EU. I don't know about the UK so much, but I have a number of friends in the EU, and it's just a completely different world. It's like a lot.
Yeah,
Much lower than it is.
but
in the
I
US.
saw another stat, and I have yet to confirm this, but I read that engineering salaries had gone up 30% in the last year.
It's crazy.
Which is nuts, right? So
Yeah.
it causes a big retention problem for companies that have engineers and senior talent. It's their market right now. It's any developer's market, frankly. So you got to be good to your people. But
So you got to make sure you've got a nice maturity roadmap for them to be reassured that they're staying in a company that's going to invest in data and technology.
or an immaturity roadmap.
Oh yeah, or an immaturity that is
Especially going to get worse over time. So
yeah, it can go the other way around. Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, but that's. I mean, I say this half jokingly because this actually does happen. Where you look at the trajectories where some companies are going, and they're like, "Wow, it's a cool step backwards." But
yeah, I think a lot of time, or companies growing by acquisition as well. You do get that bloating, and then when you have that two competing technology in the company, you've got a migration, you've got data silos. So it comes back to retention. You can have a situation where you've got people wanting to leave because they're not happy about any technology changes that are there. So how you grow as a company, and also looking at that when you're acquiring other ones, I think having a view of that, how you're going to bring those two worlds together is something you shouldn't overlook. Otherwise, you have no data team at all.
What's at risk right now for data teams? We kind of talked about how hard it is to hire people and data maturity index. It seems like we're taking a Debbie Downer view of the world. But
I mean, from what I've experienced recently in growing a team myself is you need to give them a work environment that's enjoyable. And I think what I've seen is if working in just one company that may not be working very fast, you get lots of friction, internal friction of doing it, which means they're not actually getting to do the fun stuff. They're not getting to code. They're not getting maybe an R&D day to go and do stuff, and they're just another cog in the wheel. They're never going to stay because they're going to get bored. They're going to want to move on.
Yeah.
But to give people a variety well, do you want to learn a bit of machine learning at this point? Do you want to see how and giving them an environment that they can learn all the pieces of the puzzle, so they get to see that variety, they get to learn something new, and they don't have to leave the company for it. And I think a place like that is working for a company like yourself or Leading Edge IT, where you can give that variety. So,
bring in hopefully some very highly focused new technology. We talk a lot about resume-driven development, which is probably a phenomenon that you've seen many times as well. But there's a balance between that and just being so stodgy and conservative that you'll never change anything.
And I think that you're hiring good people. You're hiring for a reason. You want to give them the ability to go and do things yourself. You don't need to micromanage them and tell them this how to do it, because otherwise you're just reflecting your own knowledge and you're not letting them free think or maybe do things better than you would have. Give an alternative. And you can't go and manage. All you need to do is have that trust. Go right. Okay, this is what we need to do, and you do it the best thing you can do, the best way of doing it within these guide frames. Definitely. It has to be data ops approach. You have to deliver the requirements, but you have that allowing a level of autonomy that allows them to be able to achieve what they want without getting frustrated, blocked, and giving them some variety on the way as well. Just don't get them on the ingest pipeline all the time. Give them some other fun stuff to do as well.
Documentation.
Exactly.
And then roadmap planning.
You can become a manager too. They'll be really excited. Mike Nash has a good question here. Says Greg Kakio was just talking about a $30,000 difference between a data analyst and a data scientist. Why is this? I got my own opinions on this. I guess we'll say them. I think data analyst is a role that's been around for a lot longer, so maybe there's just more precedence for pay scale. Data scientist is it's a catch-all term as well, so that could actually include data analyst. I think in a lot of cases.
Well, it's
nowadays.
a continuum, right? I mean, in many cases, we've seen people get a promotion to data scientist. It just means they're senior analyst who maybe knows a little bit of Python.
But why is that though? So I think the more important question is why would a data scientist title be more valuable than a data analyst title?
So I've got a view on this. If you've taken that average from the titles itself, okay, you're going to get skewed because the data scientist normally will have a bigger shopping list. So normally have all the skill sets on there. Yeah. So there's probably not that well. The difference may not be as bad as that. It's just been hidden because of the term data analyst being used more for a data science position. No one's ever going to call a data analyst position a data scientist, so you're going to have that more of an overlap or more push to the other one that's going that way.
Yeah.
So, I think one of the teams that you look at the jobs, or most Facebook, everyone's called data analyst there, even though they are actually mostly data scientist skills they're looking for. Yeah. So it is down to terminology and how they call it, and I think the term's just used too interchangeably. I think it's broken down to the key skill sets on there. You'd see the grouping that the extra pay is based on the different skills they've got there, not the job title.
Well, one thing, I saw an article someone posted on Hacker News the other day. I'll have to track it down. We can put it in the show notes after we post something. But they were talking about how really for seniors, you shouldn't actually focus on skills as in tools. In other words, skills shouldn't be, do I know Spark? Do I know Teradata? It should be like, how much data experience do you have? Yep. Whether it's with Presto or Spark or whatever. And then we can get you into the particular tools. The point is, if you have a foundation of skills, you should be able to learn new skills pretty fast. But to your point, it's like just a much deeper, in principle, algorithmic understanding of data that goes beyond just basic data analysis to become a data scientist. But it's very hard to define. It's kind of slippery, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
It is. George Foreman has a. Just kidding. There's up, Dave. He asks, do you have any suggestions over accelerating brilliant potential into fully fledged engineers, analysts, and architects?
So, Dave, this is your job. That's the task I gave you. So you can't turn it back around and ask us to do it. So, but I'll put it on my backlog and we'll come back to you on that one. But I'm going to keep quiet because I'll see what these guys do. I'll get some free consultancy.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you have to do enough hand holding, but also it's this like fine balance between like direct hand holding and training, but also just kind of throwing people new responsibility and saying, go try to do this for the next 2 days and see if you can solve this problem for the client. And if you get stuck, pull me in, but like, just go see what you can do, which is really scary as a manager, right?
Well, but I think I take the approach of I just tell you what needs to get done, and I think I let you figure out how, and over enough cycles, that breeds. Well, the thing that juniors lack is confidence.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but the thing is, I've also found the opposite with super senior people, where they're almost too opinionated. I would say overly confident. I actually like juniors for a lot of reasons, because it's a build versus buy, and these days I think just given that we're opinionated too, that I think there's something to be said for building instead of buying the fully fledged engineer, analyst, architect. It's just again, it's a supply and demand issue right now, and there's too much, there's too little supply of great talent out there, which means I think, in my opinion, I'd rather build it if I can. Part of it's cost effective, but the other part of it is too, like you said, how do you do this? It's tricky. I mean, you just have to, I think, have faith in people and let them, give them the guardrails, but then just let them try and succeed. I mean, we've had, I think, plenty of success with this, and it's been great. So
and Dave, I think my answer to this is, I mean, they need a damn good buddying and mentoring a process, which I think someone's talked about. I'm not too sure who, and then grow your own, because with that excellent support group and opportunities that they could be provided, they're going to be better than getting one off the street. So grow your own. I think engineers and just get some really good ingredients to grow with. So, Tom, if you're listening, thank you for the great grads you've given us so far.
And it's funny. I mean, back to what you were saying, Chris. You're looking for a very particular type of engineer who can mentor. Right?
Yeah.
Who's like really good IC individual contributor, but also doesn't want to be a manager necessarily. They might be a team leader or something, but also can just sit down with you and explain concepts and work with you on pull requests. So like transfer a lot of that knowledge, and a lot of engineers can't do that.
And don't just give them just give them documentation to do.
Exactly.
Because that is going to be the worst thing, and they will run away if you do that. So you got to give them tasks that they can own themselves. So and I mean, again, if Jack or Nathan are out listening as well, is that I learned stuff from these guys now. And our first round of grads that we brought on, they've recently become engineers now. They've got their wings now. They've got their certification, and they're on site doing some great work. But now having my conversations with them, where I say, okay, I need to look into this, and what I learned from them is where I get my information, because I don't have time to do that hands-on stuff. But so they become a wealth of knowledge for it becomes a circular thing. And I think if they see that, they lose. They'll remove that. Oh, he's the boss guy, I can't. No, but no, we're all learning all the time. And anyone doesn't think or thinks that they've learned it all, then they're not going to succeed much longer.
Somebody said you got to make yourself approachable, right? Or I think Michael Scott called it being approachabler. So
I think I'm classed as that. Dave, you'll have to confirm. But,
David Brent?
Oh no. Yeah, well, I'm not. I'd love to be as good as David Brent as a boss, but I can only aspire to becoming that crazy.
Well, I like that when David Brent was out there selling janitorial supplies after he got fired from his job.
Like the Christmas special.
Yeah. He's selling like dusters and
it's the chamois, right? The
chamois.
I've seen on TV.
This chamois is brilliant. Look at this.
So the thing is, we had the UK version, which obviously
exactly.
So I don't know if they were all taken exactly, because I've never watched the US version. So
that's the one I know. I've seen parts of the US version.
Okay. So you've heard the UK one.
I've watched all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I religiously watched The Office UK edition. Then there was the Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant. They had the show with one of their friends. He was this really odd guy. Carl Pilkington.
Yes, yeah, Carl. Yeah, he is an odd guy. I think he did the something tourist. So he used to go around to places where he didn't really want to go. And he just report how much he hated it, but he's going to the best.
Yeah, but he was definitely on the spectrum, but in like the most awesomely funny way. We'll have to watch it.
I've seen an episode. I need to. Yeah,
he's so funny. But but I think that The Office, as hilarious as it is, I think is actually one of the best managerial tutorials out there, Because just do the opposite of what these guys do. I always called it the Michael Scott test, or the David Brent test, which is like, if just do the opposite of what they're doing, and it'll probably work.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. It's like my investments. Just sell Bitcoin when I do. That's
what, in like 2011 or something?
Yeah, no, it wasn't that bad. Yeah, I don't do the maths anymore. Anyway,
We got a question here from Ask DevOps. Will there come a data saturation like we might have seen for semiconductors? Something like the more data, it starts not to make sense anymore. What do you think about this?
That's just bad data architecture or bad governance or bad classification or bad lineage. We'll get into that. I mean, it happens. I've seen it happen. And yeah, you're right. Unless you put some good foundations and processes around that, yeah, you can put too much data in, and every person will make their own answer up out of what data they go and get to. Yeah, and
That's the one.
yeah, an idiot abroad, Mike Nash. Sorry, Mike Nash just worked out the thing we had. The Carl Pilkington's.
He unlocked the secrets of the
yeah,
universe.
yeah,
Basically.
not data related, but very interesting anyway. But yeah, back to Ask DevOps' question. So, as long as you make sure you police it, and a strong word, police maybe, but do it in the correct way. Do it on a good maturity roadmap. Otherwise, your data will just be immature in its ability to give you business value.
Yeah,
I feel like we've already seen the data hype saturation. In fact, I've already seen 2 cycles of it, right? Frankly, Hadoop went through hype saturation. I think even Spark to some extent. I'm not saying that Spark is done. I'm just saying that the Spark hype is just way beyond it. Just kind of ridiculous. And now we're seeing this new generation of startups, and some of them will succeed and some will fail, but there's just so much money and hype around. But in terms of data value itself, I feel like we're still just scratching the surface. It's like it feels like 1999, right? It's like everyone got so excited about the internet, and then it crashed, and everyone was down on the internet. The reality is it just kept growing and growing and growing, and data is kind of going to be the same way.
I think there's someone coined it, or someone mentioned it at least anyway, but talking about, they think data is the new oil. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's insight is the new oil. It's actually, once you process data via a nice managed, quality assured, kite mark source, data that's been modeled and owned, steward, all the other things that without it, the data is just data and it's not valuable. It's not insight. So I think, focus on insight, not on the data. You'll get more value.
Well, I mean, it's interesting though, right? But if you talk to Scott Taylor, though, I mean, he would say it's always been about the data and the quality and the inputs and making sure it's right. So
that's an ingredient. I mean, having clean data, catalog data, the rest of it, but not knowing whether it is locked away, that you can't get access to it, no context to it, multiple versions of that, or not aggregated away, or in different silos. Again, it's just pockets of individually quality, refined data, but not insight.
Go ahead, Joe.
I mean, what you're saying basically, like, you have bank vaults full of diamonds, or you could have bank vaults full of trash bags full of dog turds or something.
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly.
We'll never know if you with the silos. Yeah.
And hope they don't mix the two up, because you wouldn't be able to look for the diamonds in them.
Maybe that's part of the trick.
Yeah. Well, no one ever looks at that. It's probably more secure than a vault, isn't it?
This is a new product idea. So we're
New security product.
Rather than safe in a wall, you have something else.
You store highly secure documents amongst just like junk Word documents. Basically, people are looking through your computer and they just find all these like random emails and spam and such, and then there's some really secure stuff in there.
I see we got a message from Chris Edgerow. Hi, Chris. Yeah, see, he's given. So the moaning of life is another one that Carl Pilkington was in as well. So we don't only do data on this show. We do good comedy shows that you should watch as well. So we may have to change the title.
Are you into any comedy, or
am I in any comedy?
Are you into? Do you watch comedy?
Oh, all the
stand
time.
Up, listen to it.
Jim Jeffries. I like him, but he's far too wrong. There was a Sean Locke who recently passed away in the UK. So anyone that used to watch 8 out of 10 Cats and a few other things, he was a very, very, very. I could relate to his humour. I'm not sure if I styled myself off him or it was just coincidence, but.
Yeah, we like comedy. Once we've seen
obviously
Tim Dillon a couple of times. He's hilarious. US based comic. I've just shown Colleen actually a clip from Tom Segura just a bit ago. It's Colleen over there. So yeah, comedy, data, great. What else is in your mind?
Where we're eating tonight, what time that is as well. That's nothing, but again, probably not data related. I think the sort of like the route off that high performing team and leading squad is high performing. And I've done this before, and I got told off by someone, and we'll joke about that in a minute. But it was high performance data. So I can't remember who the name was, so I can't name you if you were, but I got told that you don't have high performance data. Data is not high performance. The architect or the infrastructure it sits on, and I'm thinking, no, you can, because I use the analogy of you have your Ferrari in that, you don't go and put we've done this well, we don't go and put Tesco's fuel in it, which then great comedy that day was someone said 98% of all Tesco drivers love their fuel. I'm sure they do, but as an analogy, you will go and put high performance fuel in your high performance car. Your Formula One car is not going to have your standard unleaded in it, and in the same way with your data platforms, you want to make sure you're putting high performance data into it as well. And going to the data whisperer that you referred to as he's all about that quality, and Suzanne we were talking to earlier, so hi Suzanne, if you're listening as well. Suzanne Walsh. So putting that quality data is into your fuel of your car. The best insight is how quickly you get around that track without dying, or crashing into Hamilton, if any Formula One people out there. So there is a big, I think there should be a big focus on high performance data. And why I bring that up is high performance teams will give you high performance data. They will, with advice and with the best guidance, you will have a good data quality firewall that's done by design. You'll have testing inbuilt by design. You'll have lineage built in by design. Everyone will probably go and look at these things as afterthoughts, but having it planned out as knowing you need to do these things and knowing you need to do it at some stage, and even if it's doing in a transitional way until you can go and afford to go and buy the more expensive options out there, knowing, okay, what's good enough for me now, what's good enough for me next, and each of those steps of the way, and having someone to guide you through those ones. So.
The nice thing now is that you do have these tools that can scale with you to some extent, right?
Yeah.
It used to be that you were going to drop a few million, maybe on a Teradata or Oracle system, and now you can at least get in the door with Snowflake for a low price.
Exactly.
And another analogy that springs to mind on the high performance data idea is like try taking your Tesla Model S Plaid, driving around in Boston rush hour traffic and see how that goes. You're not going to be setting any quarter mile records in Boston rush hour. And a lot of corporations and enterprises have a lot of rush hour traffic in some sense in terms of actually.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe the speed your query is running is not the slowest thing if you're actually achieving what you needed to. It's actually understand getting your data loaded, processed, understood, communicated, verified.
Although speaking of communicated and verified, Chris Edge, you know this guy, right, Chris?
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so now that we're talking about comedy and delivery, do you all think that it's an important part of consulting to storytell on data and make it lively? I think so.
Yeah, 100%. Otherwise, I don't think I'd be doing it anymore.
What do you mean?
Well, it's you need to have that passion. Passion gives you storytelling. Storytelling convinces people to do the right thing. As long as people don't normally get passionate about convincing people to do the wrong thing unless they're lost. If you're passionate, you don't have a passion for something, so you want to achieve the best from it. If you can perform that and give that passion out when you're consulting and you're being your client's. You're being your client's advisory, then I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to basic salesmanship, really. I think good sales, good sales in general, really involves storytelling, right? So people buy stories at the end of the day. They don't buy facts, figures, and all that stuff. It's all about what's a story I can tell myself to justify why I want to buy this.
Yeah, and I think as long as you can tie those stories back to facts. Or clear pros and cons, and whenever I like to present something, I always like to present the do nothing option. So look, there is always the option of doing nothing, and that people can take that, but it's working out what the other options are. And I've used different versions of it. You give your platinum choice of go something. You can go Rolls Royce, but do you really need that now? Probably not.
Yeah, but what facts do you need? I mean, so let's look at what happened this week, right? So two big vendors, Snowflake and Databricks, each released benchmarks.
Oh yeah, that was brilliant.
Right.
Yeah.
But okay, so there's this constant back and forth now. I
haven't seen the latest. I saw the one that basically the two founders gave look, go and recreate the same situation yourself with this.
Which co-founders?
Snowflake.
Yeah, then Databricks had a rebuttal, but it's interesting because both of them I think feel like they're we're just talking about facts and storytelling, right?
Yeah.
So when you got two vendors who basically say, well, your interpretation of this benchmark is wrong and how you did it is wrong, you're wrong, etc. Right? And so then which facts do you believe at the end of the day?
So I'd go down to customer satisfaction to go to that, right? Because I mean everyone has their own point of view. You got emotional attachment, which is something you see every day in consulting of looking at too, moving in there. And they both, I mean, we all both know the story of both Databricks and Snowflake. They were both they've both got the same thing at different directions. Snowflake started up with the more of the data warehouse, data lake, getting there, and then moving into the machine learning space.
Yeah.
They were best buddies at the beginning.
Not so much now.
Not so much now. And they, I think, obviously, they both saw that which way was going the direction. So Databricks got to get a head start. I think right before you go and eat into us, we're going to try and get a head start in that way. So they both probably will serve different companies at different parts of the journey in a different point. And there may be what's a better approach for each of them. But I mean, to do with that whole benchmarking, you need to look at what your use case is. So the old I think they referred to it.
The TPC.
Yeah, exactly. You used to have Oracle competing with the SQL servers or the DBTs or DB2s back then, and they'd always say that we can process this many transactions per second. Yeah, it's great, but without the context. And I think as long as there's vendors and they can spat it out, and I haven't seen the latest reply back, but I thought how Snowflake's response to it was very well put together. It was go and recreate these situations yourself, and you can do that. But at the end of the day, try it yourself. Spin something up, get some representative workload to what you're doing.
Although I will say the thing I am most appreciative of this back and forth exchange is that the what is it called, the do it clause?
Well, that sounds right. But anyway, the clause that says that you cannot benchmark.
Yeah, so back I think
ridiculous.
The one thing is that certain vendors wouldn't allow benchmarking on their platform,
right?
And all of a sudden now, well, that at least two of them have removed that clause. I think it's awesome. I think it's great for the industry, and hopefully more will do that, right? Because it was started back. So for the audience, there was a clause that Oracle had. It's called the do it clause, I believe. But feel free to correct that part. But anyway, there's a clause basically said you can't benchmark our services against others for competitive or advertising reasons, promotional reasons or something. So and you notice that actually in the verbiage of acceptable use policies, you couldn't benchmark certain products,
which is absurd because we're all benchmarking all the time. But we're told that we can't release that information about these products.
Right.
And I think that stuff that goes into closed doors, there's something to hide then, isn't there? And
right.
And I think now, especially some of these open source products that are out there in those Slack communities, your community is your benchmarking of what people think. And if the community can't able to show off on how they can get the stuff or produce this or try this stuff to show how quickly they can do these things, and it's going to remove the competitiveness, and the company's going to sit back and think, I don't need to do anymore now. I can sit back on my nice brand that I've got them built now. I don't have to go and get the informants anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas, I think keeping them, we'd still be using Oracle now, unless someone else went and challenged it. We'd still be using or Teradata. That would be the de facto choice. Exadata, Teradata, or the Teaser or something as our data warehouse. If someone hadn't challenged the approach, Redshift, they've only taken that for the Snowflake, put it into the cloud. It was never re-architected. BigQuery, sure that they have done that thing as well. But if those things hadn't existed, Hadoop wasn't going to solve the answer, we'd be back in that sort of architecture, and data wouldn't be in the masses. We wouldn't have our shortage of data people because they'd only be the very, very big companies that could afford them.
Yep. For sure. Mike Nash asks here, post-pandemic, are you seeing a larger interest in digital transformation, and is it getting faster? Is this putting pressure on the industry? I think we kind of touched on this inadvertently with what you're saying.
I'm feeling the pressure that way.
And it seems like it started at least probably a year and a half ago, right?
Yeah.
Actually, it was during the pandemic. There was this big ramp up, and it continues. As far as
I think we saw it just back nearly a year. Yeah, it's coming up to a year. I think December we saw it. I mean, January onwards it just went crazy.
It went nuts. Yeah,
absolutely crazy.
Well, this was kind of driving too the hiring shortage. You know, I mean, it's digital transformation. I think every company, basically what COVID did is it pulled the future forward by about 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And so anybody who's, has a digital presence is growing that. Anyone who felt they needed to get one, surprise, surprise, if you don't have one, you probably didn't get through COVID. Lucky to the survivors. I think they realized when we see this a lot with, anecdotally through studies of cloud spend, for example, and looking at public companies and the reported earnings of, talking technology companies, everything just accelerated. And so, it's getting faster and faster, but I think that's what's been the nature inherently of kind of transformation cycles to begin with.
Do you think there was a lot of money that was put into what they thought was safe? So just move the money out of your airlines, invest in tech and things like that. So which pushed the price up. Not my area of expertise, but I think there was that interest. But I think everyone thinking, okay, where can I put hedge funds? And where can I put my safe money? What can I go buy? Let me go buy me some data.
It was interesting though, because FANG companies, I mean, the FANGs, they were like 25 or more % of the S&P movements, like the top 5 companies in the S&P, which are all tech companies.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty fascinating.
A few pensions moved their money out to probably BMW and Porsche and moved it into some
GameStop, AMC.
Into Cloudera, maybe into Cloudera. Oh no, that's the wrong data stock.
But it has the word cloud in it. How could we go wrong?
No, I actually saw an analyst report saying Cloudera is, cloud is really big right now.
Yeah,
fire the analyst.
Bless that analyst. He must be new.
Jesus. But I would say too, you're going to see more and more, I think, faster movements going on, especially with the new buzzwords. Now you got Web3 coming up fast. And I think that's going to change a lot of stuff at some point, but there's more money going in, ton of money going into the amount of data startups, for example, right now is nuts. The amount of valuations we're seeing. What I read the other day, ClickHouse, open source, first round they raised is $300 million.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, they need to put that money in a place that really knows what they're doing with data. That's what they need. So that's what
I would bet on that.
That's our agenda tonight, isn't it? Later.
God, it's so weird, like having the mask on and trying to laugh because it just does this thing. So it's awesome.
Watching medical drama as people in the comments.
So we should just call this like a.
I don't know if he's going to survive.
So in this edition of Grey's Anatomy,
we lost 3 patients. One in the corridor, 2 on the bench.
Some gallows humor and check some inappropriate gallows humor.
No, it's fine. I mean, for the audience who wondering why we wear masks, we're at the Hotel Riviera in Boston right now.
They kindly gave us an area to work in and said, look, we can do a show from here. But they didn't tell us we had to wear masks while doing the show.
Yeah, so midway through the show, they're like, you need to put your mask on. So they were like, oh, geez. Okay.
We didn't speak to the right manager, I don't think.
Yeah, but you have like a shin guard on right now. So it's fine.
It's to keep a beard in shape. It's a bit bad at the moment. I mean, it's best to keep the mask on. I think Chris just made another good point here as well. Is that you can't always trust benchmarking because especially when they're done by the individual.
Are you saying Dieselgate wasn't a good thing?
Well, no, because my diesel car's worthless now.
You have a Volkswagen.
Seattle data guy says he left from there no mask and came back in their mask. Yeah, it's a fashion statement, Ben. So we really feel like we need to encourage mask use, and so we're wearing.
My beard was messy. I tried to hide my beard.
Chris is ugly as hell too.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
anything we can do to help him out. It's good, man. But
on benchmarks though, I mean, that part I completely agree with, but I think the answer is not fewer benchmarks, but more.
Yeah,
Right? It's
yeah.
like, in fact, it would be really nice if even customers said, "Hey, here's how our system performs in practice, and here's how much data we're scanning." and
Yeah,
what our
I
data looks
agree.
Like. Just more not even to support the vendors, but more just as part of a data community to like support each other by talking about how these products actually work. But yeah, it's true. The vendor benchmarks always cherry.
Well, but it was interesting reading about the history of the do-it clause.
Yeah.
I think it's what's called, right? Because it was basically Oracle. Somebody benchmarked Oracle, and Larry Ellison didn't like the results.
Yeah.
And so Larry Ellison, he's arguably got a fragile ego. I don't know him.
If they benchmark it on Oracle running on Amazon, it'd probably be better.
Oh, geez. That's Chris. So
that, yeah. I'm only going by what Dave told me.
yeah, but I mean, it's an interesting one. But I mean, that's kind of why there's these clauses. But what I think also maybe there's a potential for reverse engineering.
Yeah.
For performance. But I mean, you don't need a benchmark, and you can just do it in private anyway. The whole thing is about publishing the results about benchmarks, right? So. Now, I've heard that argument about reverse engineering. I think it goes out the window, but I'm glad to see this is happening. I think it produces a more open data ecosystem, and let the customers decide at the end of the day, right?
I did. It was a few years ago, but we did a bake-off. I think I refer to it as between Redshift, Teradata, and Snowflake. And if you just took an individual query and you took maybe the best query from each of them. Each one would be able to have a winner, or be able to get that. But it wasn't until we were able to take a profile of a selection of different types of queries. So your interest, some analytical stuff, some data transformation stuff, and then be able to take, randomly 5 or 6, or I think we had 20 queries in the end, and then play them workload repeatedly over and over again each other, and see then. And there were some outliers, Snowflake didn't do well on every one. It lost on one, but the others had some benefits. But then if you started to try and tune the queries, you could go and get them all. But it's the need to do that tuning. It's that need for that developer to have actually gone through all the effort to go and do that tuning, or ever migration. How much rework you've got to do. So I think the true benchmark is taking a representation of what you are. And then run it on Databricks, run it on Synapse, run it on Redshift, run it on Snowflake.
Run it on SQLite.
Yeah, could do. Put in Access, it's just go the whole lot. And
still supported, right?
Yeah.
I mean, another thing about benchmarks is that database products, especially now in the cloud, are so much more subtle than that, right? So, for example, if you're benchmarking an on-prem Teradata system versus Snowflake, well, the fact that you can spin warehouses up and down dynamically, that's a huge product feature, which completely changes the pricing model. And so just trying to do like head-to-head pricing per minute or something is kind of silly.
And like Ben says, it's almost like getting data engineers. Yeah, we totally agree. So, not that the show is about that, because we're talking about like medicine and comedy shows.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
but data engineering, it's supposedly a data engineering show.
And comedy.
And comedy.
Yeah.
With masks.
Yeah, it's fun. Well, cool. We're coming up on time here. Thanks to the audience. Again, it's really fun, man. I mean, it's kind of a novel thing being back in person again. It's weird.
I didn't realize I hadn't met you before. So I said, "Hey, Joe, we doing?" It's the first time we met, but long time followers, first time meeter.
That's awesome. We also actually ternary. We got Colleen over here. Say hi. She's awesome. She keeps everything running. But yeah, so it's in person's. It's a thing now. It's going to be a new
every
way.
3 months. That's it. I've decided now. It's 3 monthly trips to Boston.
We'll start buying our tickets now.
Data engineering show.
I'll be in Switzerland at one point, but maybe 4 or 5 months next time.
Yeah, we'll do an A&E data engineering show. I think this is great. So we'll, maybe we'll base on one of the.
We'll get Clooney. See if we'll get George Clooney on as a special guest.
That's not funny, man. Anyway, I think I'm supposed to go sailing out of Gloucester or
he was in ER, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah.
That's a. Yeah, is that?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. That's where we got to start, right?
Yeah.
He did, didn't he?
Yep.
Okay, I'm clueless.
You're thinking. I see. I got it.
Yeah, Perfect Storm.
No, that's not in Boston. Never.
You a George Clooney fan?
I only in ER, not in any other film.
Did you watch like every episode of ER?
No. I only the one with Yeah, there was some good nurses in it.
Huh. Cool. On that note, so awesome. Well, hopefully we'll have another show next Friday, or 2 Fridays from now. Maybe if you make it to Salt Lake, we can do a show from there.
Yeah, let's see if we can that happen.
So
see how the snow conditions are, and see what.
Yeah, and we got to get Ben back on too. Seattle data guy. He was on the Monday morning data chat as well.
Engineering. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So don't do data surgery, Chris. We need don't do data surgery on Chris. Need him back. No promises, but I think he'll be fine here. Boston's a pretty safe town for Chris.
Tried and tested.
Yeah. Cool, man. It's good to have you on.
Yeah, good to be here. It's good.
Yeah, he's like, all right. Cool. All right, that's awkward. All right. Cool.
Both hands up here.
All right. See you, everybody. Bye.